Everybody, Norm over here, and I've got my old buddy over here, Jimmy Vivino, one of the funkiest guitar players.
Even more so with this.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to play blues, you don't really need anything that great. Sometimes it has more of a feel with the.
I mean, it says vibey on the sticker. 60's Harmony Stratatone.
Oh,
vibey.
You're right. Yeah.
And it also says, is scratched in the pick art, Magic Fish.
Well, that explains it right there.
So no, I came over to say hello. We're gonna do this thing, and then right away, there's always something when you come in here, and it doesn't have to be $10,000. It can be like 20, 30.
There you go. We accept all donations and everything. So, but and then we got the great Bob Margolin, who has played with Muddy Waters throughout a lot of his career, and legendary blues band, and what else? What else have you done?
Well, actually, it wasn't a legendary blues band or a lot of Muddy's career. My name is pronounced Margolin, but we're doing fine.
You know,
I'm proud to be here.
I only went to school. Look, I went to high school at 7 years, and I still didn't graduate.
You're good with the Italian. Half of you
That's
knows
right.
that.
That's right. I'm part Italian, part Yid. You know.
Yeah, so you should know the Margolin.
There you
but
go.
no, you know, everybody. Somebody else did that the other day too. Called the Margolin.
Muddy Waters himself used to call me something different every time, but whenever we did a live recording and he introduced me, he'd get it right. And I think it was only just statistically by accident.
Yeah.
But
because I remember he
called me everything.
Bob Margolin.
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 But I was in his band from 1973 to 80, and
that's a pretty good
long
show.
time.
Had my own after that. Yeah,
you must have learned you pretty good.
That was a real opportunity to learn, not the way most people do these days, but like, medieval style, like an apprentice learning from a master. He actually put me on his right side on the stage whenever the stage setup would allow, so that I could watch what he was playing. He really wanted me to learn, and he knew that I wanted to. And I tried to use what I did learn to give him what he wanted on the bandstand, as well as use it for myself ever after.
Tell the quick story about how you told me how you were in the other room at his house playing Can't Be Satisfied. Yeah.
Well, I stayed at his house a few times earlier in the time that I was in the band in 1973, and he did not want to teach anybody anything. He wanted to sit in his kitchen and drink champagne. So I'd go in another part of the house, and he had excellent hearing and perfect pitch. And I tuned up my guitar. It was a Stratocaster that I had just gotten. But it was a 56 to open G.
How much did you pay for that, by the way?
$350.
We got some of those Strats here.
Yeah, they're 350.
Yeah.
No.
I started playing Muddy's Can't Be Satisfied, and I hear, just like John Belushi did on Saturday Night Live a few years later, wrong! And so he came in, and I said, well, why don't you take the guitar and show me how it's done? And he told me that he was too old to teach a person that did unnatural acts with his family. And but he would sing the parts that he wanted me to do, and he kept singing them at me, and I kept trying to play them till he couldn't say wrong anymore. Well, I can tell you one of the things that he did tell me, which was about he liked to mute notes by clamping his hand down on the brick. I'm doing it exaggerated there, right. But he said that he liked to do that rather than just taking his fingers and, you know, like that.
I guess that sound.
So, yeah, that was a pretty good lesson, but that's as close as he ever came to giving me a lesson off stage or giving me a dirty look on stage.
Well, let me ask you a question. So the unnatural acts with the family thing, that didn't bother him too much? The farm animal thing, that didn't bother him at all?
Actually, we can do a song that came from. I'll tell the story after Jimmy does his songs. And,
No, I don't mind. We're
but just
here.
remember, you brought up the animals.
All right. Well,
You know, if
that's
we're rolling
what I
here, why don't we roll here, and I'll end with my song, you know?
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And by the way, Jimmy is playing this harmony.
Yeah.
And Bob, you're playing this B&G guitar, which I guess Tyler Morris turned you on to that, right?
he did just about a year ago. He says there's a company in Israel that is making guitars that I think are perfect blues guitars, and he showed me the one that he had, and it seemed like it had parts of every guitar that I've had that I've loved. It was hollow like the ES-150 I used to have. It had P90s on it, like the one that got away is a stolen 50s Les Paul special that got stolen from me in 1972. But I thought that was going to be my guitar. And so I got one of their cheaper models that's called a Crossroads model. It's not handmade, but I liked it a lot. But I liked it so much that I said, why don't I get one of their ultimate models, which this is. It's all mahogany, and the pickups are hand wound to be noiseless. And I find that while they sound a lot like P90s, they have a Fender-like clarity to them, and so they cut through within a band. And it has the easiest neck I've ever played. It has a slight V in it, like the old Gibson or Stella Parlor guitars. And
A lot of times, too, we have to go, we just go out as a duo. We go out as, two guitars.
By the way, tell us about that. You guys
We've known each other for like over 40 years, probably, just like in passing.
I didn't think you guys were that old.
No, well, we were like 2 then, yeah. So anyway, we finally got together. I don't remember how or why, but to start doing some dates together, just the 2 of us, though, And occasionally we'll pick up a drummer. We don't usually, if that happens, like it's happening. Tomorrow night we're going up to Seaside for 4th of July, and Nick Otis, Johnny Otis's son, is playing drums. Only because Nick Otis lives up there, and we said, let's get Nick Otis because we want to play with as many people as we can in the blues world.
To Johnny's radio show. Right?
Yeah.
So he was a character.
Yeah. And Nick and Shuggy, and they were kids playing with T-Bone and Eddie Vincent and Little Esther and just everybody.
My old band, we used to back a lot of those guys up. Roy Milton, Eddie Cleanhead.
Sure,
Jensen,
yeah. And Johnny Otis was the king of the West Coast sound. He was so important out here. He was a lot like Ike Turner was on the East Coast for the blues.
So you know a lot.
So we just start working as a duo. 2 guitars, 200 stories.
Let me ask you one question. You remember Coco Taylor, right?
Sure, yeah.
So who played on Wang Dang Doodle? That guitar.
There's 2 versions. There's the original version, right? That
with Willie Dixon on it.
Willie,
and I think it's Buddy Guy playing guitar.
Yeah, really,
I think it is. Yeah, on the original.
Man.
See, there's one that's like.
Yeah, that's the one.
All right, so that's it. Then there's a faster.
That's the one I like.
And it sounds like Jody Williams because I keep hearing this.
Yeah.
Which is a Jody Williams riff from Hubert, or from Hubert. Jody played when they played with Howlin' Wolf. That was what he played. Because I asked Hubert about that particular riff. I said, that, which is so weird, from the 6 to the 9. So it's either Buddy might have copped it from them, and I think that faster version is Buddy. Because there's
I love that snooky version though, because that chord, that Bob's playing.
Minor.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of that in a sec.
Tell all the slip. Tell Butcher my trophy engine. We gonna have a ball down to the Union Hall. We gonna rock, I forgot the words. Yeah. We gonna romp and stomp to midnight. We gonna pitch a wang dang doodle all night long. 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 We gonna pitch a wang dang doodle all night long.
So, and you guys are going out on the road together. You're dating, did you say?
Well, we're thinking about maybe now. It's after the first couple times it was fine, but now I think we need separate rooms.
Oh, okay. All
It
right.
just was too.
So people might be starting to request
Like
this
Laura
tune here
Hardy.
because that's a great version of that tune. One of the slinkiest, nastiest
Oh yeah, it's a
guitar
great riff.
records of all time.
And you know when you look at that riff, so many things him that. That's so cool. Yeah,
And how
you
that,
know.
that other chord, that minor thing, lays on that is just greasy.
And a lot but remember when Buddy and Junior did Good Morning? Skull. It's Who Knows. It's like Hendrix took it for Who Knows. And they did their version of that John Lee Williamson song. Good morning, little school. So it was called borrowing in those days.
Yes.
Today there's lawsuits about that kind of stuff, but I don't think,
Well, Vienna Steel is still from the best, right?
yeah.
There's a little bit of that lick in the Allman Brothers version
Yeah.
of Trouble No More.
Much different than
which-
Buddy's, yeah.
It is, and in about 1978, when they had some internal problems and Greg Allman had his own band for a while, Muddy was playing at the Roxy in LA, and Greg came down with his band, did a few songs with them, and then brought Muddy, and Muddy brought me up so he'd have something that he was used to go on, and Greg said, how about playing Trouble No More? And then they played the Allman Brothers version, which frankly Muddy had probably never heard. Yet he could hear what they were doing, and he came in all the right places, which are tricky in that
Yeah,
song.
'cause they do the
And I couldn't
big-
believe he sang it that well and that strongly, and his voice was.
One question.
Very
You remember
strong.
the Last Waltz?
I remember it very well. It was an amazing evening. The film that's come out of it is of course well known and publicized it to a lot more people and is on generation.
What a great
generations.
movie, man.
Well,
I mean, everybody.
my friend there
from
was so
Money to-
lucky that, and Levon used to, and Levon was very close with all of us. He used to say, they kind of disrespected Muddy by the time they brought Muddy on, the director who we know who Martin Scorsese was the director, but they said, gee, we're down one camera, we only have one camera for Muddy, so it's a one shot Muddy.
It
But
worked.
who's the only other person in that shot? So-
When they pulled out, you could see everybody.
Yeah, but mostly when they come in.
I was standing right next to Muddy, so I'm in almost every scene of it, playing all three notes.
You were playing your arch top, right?
Yes, I was.
See, I remember, that. So play a little bit for us, because you guys are going to go
What
out
do you
on the
want to play?
road.
You play something now. I did enough wang dang doodling without the right words. Sorry, kids. Look, you can Google them though.
Well, one time Muddy's band was out on the road in Europe about 6 or 8 weeks, and everybody was starting to get lonely, really wanting
Is that where
to
you
go
came
home.
in?
No,
You
this
know,
is where the format was.
No, this is in Europe, and the guys in the band, the ones that were older than me, which was all of them, started telling stories about the most desperate things they'd done over women. And there were some pretty desperate things, but Muddy's story was, I think, the deepest. And I said, well, this didn't happen to me, but I'm going to get a good song out of it someday.
All right.
So I'd like to play it kind of, not entirely in Muddy's guitar style. I think I could probably reproduce it pretty well, but I'll do a little bit of what he does and a few of the licks that I like to do in it, and feature Jimmy on the guitar as well, because it's very collaborative. Guitars go in
I'm
and
gonna
out.
flat
It's
pick
not
on
me
this
more
one.
than-
And put this away.
Oh, yeah?
I learned that from John Sebastian, how to never lose, you never lose your thumb pick if you keep it on the finger you're not using.
Well, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and don't forget that, kids, you can Google it too.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I really like the rear pickup on this. Has a very strong, tough sound.
By the way, these little tweed fenders aren't doing a bad job either.
Yeah, we found these outside.
They're still out there.
Yeah? All right, shut up, you guys. Start playing.
In the alley by the window, I drop my gun and fall on my knees. In the alley by the window, I drop my gun and fall on my knees. Lord, give me strength. Don't let me kill this woman, please. I just can't shoot her. But someday she'll surely go to hell. I just can't shoot her. But someday she'll surely go to hell. I feel sorry for the devil. Oh, when he gets to know her well. She If you lose your heart's desire, you can't be satisfied. If you lose your heart's desire, you can't be satisfied. You can't love like that again, no matter how you try.
Hey, Bob Margolin.
Yeah.
Vivino taking us from the streets and dropping us off in the alleys.